Welcome back to Phae's Place, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. Bring a story to life on screen is no easy feat. It takes skill, dedication to the craft, and of course, vision. Today's guest embodies all those qualifications and more, drawing 2.7 million viewers live and on the same day with her work as director for Lifetime's The Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel, as well as her work on Woman Thou Art Loose. Christine Swanson consistently proves your dreams are worth pursuing. Thank you for stopping by Phae's Place, Miss Swanson. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So take us back to 5-year-old Christine growing up in Detroit. What did she dream of becoming?
Well, 5-year-old Christine grew up in Korea. So
Okay.
I lived in Korea until I was 6. My dad was in the military. My dad is from Detroit, and he was stationed in the military for about 11 years. So I lived there until I was 6 years old. And then I came to America when I was 6. I landed on a military base in Florida. And then when I turned 8, my dad retired from the military and moved to Detroit. So I landed in Detroit when I was an 8-year-old.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did you have dreams of becoming...
No, I had no dreams of becoming anything. Filmmaking is something that I discovered later on in life, particularly when I was a freshman in college at the University of Notre Dame. Spike Lee came to my campus to talk about Do the Right Thing, and I did not know that people made movies for a living. So I promptly changed my major from finance to filmmaking, and then I guess we can say the rest is history in the making.
Now, one of my favorite films of yours, as I said earlier, is the Clark Sisters movie. As a lover of gospel music and African American culture, I personally want to thank you for just honoring the craft. I love the choices that you made, including having singers instead of hiring actors, and then also having them sing live. So I know it wasn't an easy feat, but can you share the process of how you got that opportunity to direct that film?
I had recently come off of directing a movie about Mickey Howard. It's called The Mickey Howard Story. So I think that was my first music biopic. And just based on the success and feel of that, I connected with the producers. When I heard that they were doing a movie about the Clark sisters, and it was at Lifetime, I was like, oh Lord, please let me be able to direct that movie because I'm from Detroit. I love God, and I just felt like I should be the director to direct it. And, God did it and allowed me to get the job. And from that point on, it's almost as if I felt like I was destined to do it. And at a certain point, I felt the legacy and spirit of Maddie Moss Clark, and I just kind of assumed that as a director, and then the rest was just precision. Like, how are we gonna do this, And I really felt like attuned with how Maddie Moss Clark worked, and that's how we approached the movie. And again, the rest is history.
I'm sure you knew of the Clark sisters growing up in Detroit, but did you ever meet them while you were living there?
I never met them, but I had classmates in high school who belonged to the Church of God in Christ. I was raised AME, so African Methodist Episcopal. So we were just a little bit more tame than Kojic folks. But I had friends who were Kojic, and they would talk about Maddie Moss Clark, and they would talk about all the concerts and the music in their church. And so it was in the background, in the ether, as I was growing up. I would say that I was specifically in tune with all things Winans, right? And then Clark Sisters it was kind of secondary, but it was all there in the ether in Detroit. And just the gospel sound. I just didn't know it because it was normal. But now that I look back on it, I was surrounded by and grew up in probably, I know people might argue with me, I'm thinking of Don Lawrence right now, but the gospel music capital of the world.
I would agree. I would
Right,
agree
right.
with
In
you.
many respects, the spirit was abundant in our atmosphere, So gospel music just became embedded into my soul and my DNA. Just because I was in church every Sunday, to be able to articulate it and realize it through filmmaking and storytelling was a particularly special privilege and honor for me.
Now, can you share with our listening audience, for those who are unfamiliar with the role of a director, can you tell them exactly what you do? All the
Okay.
roles you entail.
Okay. Let me frame it in the way that I worked on the Clark sisters. So my job, because I didn't write the script, someone else wrote the script and handed it to me. Now I had a big hand in some rewrites and reshaping some elements of the script, but by and large, the script is written by a writer. In this case, Sylvia Jones and Camille Tucker. My job is to take the script and visualize and actualize the scenes and moments in the script, and then elevate it in a storytelling way where I'm working with actors and I'm working with crew people to connect a story in a way that it will connect with audiences emotionally. And that requires directing the actors to get specific types of performances. In the case of the Clark sisters, that means directing and working with the music director, Donald Lawrence, to kind of gauge how I want to use the music. I remember like I went through and repick songs. There were songs written in the script, and I was like, no, I think we should use this song here in this moment and use it. So it was picking, to me, songs that help to push the story forward. And then working with Donald Lawrence in creating the rhythm and timbre and the tonality of the music and the placement of the music. Now, let me take Donald did the tonality of it, but it's really like where's the music placed? How are we using it? And in what way are the actors engaged with the music that we're going to show on camera and film? So I'm in charge of all of that, right? And then I pick the actors with the network and the producers. I pick my crew members who are like the cinematographer, the costume designer. Like if you remember the costumes in Clark Sisters, it was phenomenal. It
Yes.
really took a specific gifted eye to bring that era and eras to life in a way that really complemented the storytelling and made Clark Sisters what it was. Pick the hair and makeup person and the production designer, like to recreate the nostalgia of those decades. Take somebody who knows what they're doing. So it's working with all these team members to create the world and build the world. And after you build the world, and now we have actors that I've worked with specifically to actualize the scenes, the words, the performances. And then I work with the crew specifically to set up in such a way that we capture this in the most dynamic and to me emotionally aesthetic way to create the movie. And then when it's all done shooting, then I'm in editing with the editor, and it's really building the sequences to maximize performances and emotional connection and relevance, so that by the time you guys see it, all of that is coming together, and now you just get to enjoy the movie.
Yes, and we did. We did. I think it came out at a perfect time.
Yeah.
2020, everybody was just locked in, and we really needed that message of hope, you
Yeah.
know. And the Clark sisters have been just phenomenal down through the years. They never turned, they never strayed away. They just remained pure gospel. And so it was just an honor altogether. How long did it take to do the whole entire film?
Maybe we shot it in less than a month, but we spent over a year like in post and editing, because I think the release date got pushed a couple times. So it takes a month. That took like a month to shoot it, like a month to prep it, a month to shoot it, and probably 3 or 4 months to do all the post-production for it. So you're talking a half a year.
Now, I know that you talk a lot about going outside of your comfort zone. Can you tell us about a time where you made a mistake, but it actually helped you grow?
That's life. I mean, we're always making mistakes, and you either learn from it and grow, or you get debilitated by it and remain stagnant. So I'm very pro growth. It's like we would run out of time if I were to list them, but I would generally say that one of the things that I had to learn, maybe the hard way, is to not be ashamed of my majesty. So when I came out of film school, I was very confident and experienced in the way that film school sets you up. I had a lot of hubris and I had a lot of hopes and dreams, and I went after them. Like, I was relentless. And then I kind of left the filmmaking scene when I had 4 kids, and I took time off to raise them. And I remember as I came back into directing, particularly when I stepped into the world of television directing, because that was completely new to me. I was surrounded by a lot of people with pedigrees and more hubris than I could ever have, and a certain kind of a confidence that leans towards arrogance. And I just remember being slightly intimidated by that and not really knowing how to show up. When you decide to lean into the uncertain and you don't know how to show up, then your default mode is to shrink. I knew what I was. It's just I never doubted it, but I had a lapse in time where I didn't practice it so much. So that left me at a deficit that allowed me to go into that default mode. And in going to that default mode, I really created a not great situation, because when you don't stand up in your majesty and your confidence and your God-given talents, and when you don't know how to navigate that in a world that isn't expecting that from you, then it can create some confusion and setbacks. So that kind of set me back a little bit. And I had to really learn some things, not only about the industry, but about myself and how I wanted to show up and how I never wanted to walk in fear again. And that was something I had to practice and go through. And I had to fall and then get back up again. And as I got back up in strength and in confidence and with a renewed hope and desire to just be as authentic as I can be, even if that cost me something. I didn't want to betray myself anymore and walk in my majesty. And if nobody understands it but me and God, I'm on the right track. So that's something I had to learn, like, over time, and it's been a humbling experience, but it's also been fortifying, because I fell flat on my face, and then I had to get myself up and dust myself off with the help of the Holy Spirit. And then God was like, get back in it. Let's go. What did you learn? And what are you going to do differently? And how are you going to be the change that you want to see? That's what that really motivated me, particularly because it was such a hard thing to experience. And sometimes there aren't people there who care or who want to help. And sometimes you have to help yourself and lean so heavily into your faith and God to maneuver. And that is something that I have been walking in on the more successful side in my spirit since that fall.
And I love that you brought that up, especially being an African American woman. People expect us to just, for lack of a better term, to be humble, but in a way that is like, it's not honest to who you are. And I have to say that when I'm looking at your interviews, I'm like, wow, she has so much confidence. I love that she just shows up. And I know you said it took, years, but what is something that you did to overcome that obstacle that you faced?
Well, it's the opportunity that I had to do it again, but deciding that I was going to show up more authentically and holding myself accountable to the pledge that I made to myself. So you're practicing your walk. See, I don't have to practice authenticity because that's what I am. You only lose it when you choose to shrink. And the double-edged sword with Black women is that we've just had to figure everything out, and we're the problem solvers. We're the savior of the world, quite frankly. We don't have a problem typically serving. It's almost like we're built like that, but we also are natural born leaders. And sometimes in certain industries and in the world, people don't like confidence in certain kinds of people. People don't like a spiritual connection to something greater than yourself. People don't like humility or authenticity or confidence or I don't really care what you think attitude. So it's about navigating that DNA in us with the world. And as you can see, when the world implodes, Black women are the first that's targeted. In the last couple years, with the implosion of our government, I think statistically over 300,000 Black women have lost federal jobs. And there's a dismantling of the DEI initiatives in Hollywood. And who are the first affected? Black women and men. It's kind of, unfortunately, what we're wired for. And we'll get back up again because we always do. So it's just navigating, bumpy terrain all the time. And then, but the thing is to remember who you are and remember whose you are, and that gets us through. It doesn't mean everything is going to work out for you. I mean, that's the truth and reality that I don't think we talk about as much, because nobody wants to talk about suffering. Nobody wants to talk about hardship. Nobody wants to talk about the loneliness that you feel when you fail. People only want to talk to you or celebrate you when you're successful. And I just would argue that then that's a half a human, because our humanity is wrapped in our fragility as well as our strength. And to the extent that we understand that we are human, we're fragile, we hurt, we get afraid, we don't always know the answers, people won't always come to our rescue. That's what it means to be human, But in Him we move, we live, and have our being. If we understand the distinction of we are other beings having a human experience, I think that's where the hope comes in. And the hope is necessary to survive our time on earth.
Do you have an idea for a business, but bringing it to fruition seems so overwhelming? Look no further. Emboldened Consulting is a strategy and creative consulting agency that turns bold ideas into thriving ventures. When rebranding my podcast, Phae's Place, I needed direction and someone who gets it, who gets me. I tried Emboldened Consulting and was not disappointed. The results I received showed that there was close attention to detail and gave me insight of what I needed to make my business work. You have the vision. Let Emboldened Consulting help you execute the dream. Their services include strategic messaging and branding development, operational strategy, project management, and marketing campaign design. Email Jodi Iyamu at emboldenconsulting.com. That's JODIIYAMU at emboldenconsulting.com to set up your consultation today. Use the code PHASEPLACE to receive a free consultation. Now, you and your husband, Emmy Award winner Michael Swanson, established Faith Filmworks, which is an entertainment production company. Some films include All About You and its companion film, All About Us. What inspired you to tell these stories?
Well, when I came out of NYU film school, I wanted to make movies. And I remember with All About You, one time I was at someone's house. It was like a party and gathering of people, and one of the persons there was Brian McKnight's manager. And he was like, Brian is looking into getting into movies. And I just heard that, and I'm like, I'm going to write that movie. I'm like, what kind of movie could I write that could be good for Brian McKnight? And it ended up being like All About You. In fact, the main character's name is Brian. I wrote it for Brian McKnight. By the time we made it, he wasn't available because he was on the road on a tour. And I think we dodged a bullet. But we were able to cast the amazing Teron Brooks, who is
phenomenal.
a super phenomenal human being, very dear friend of mine. And that really started our lifelong friendship. So God orchestrated that. He knew what he was doing. So
I enjoyed them. I enjoyed both of those films as well. So let's delve into your creative process. What are the factors that you take into account when you're deciding to work on a film?
what can I contribute, and is this something that speaks to me? And if it does, it'll speak to other people. And if it's not quite speaking on the page and yet they still want me to direct it, I just believe I can bring something to a story and pull out truth and humanity in a way that other people can connect to. I just like doing it almost for the sport of it. Like, what can I do to contribute to help elevate this story? So that's what drives me and fuels me. Of course, at this point in life, it helps to have the proper budget so I can have the proper tools to do what I do well.
Yes, wonderful. Now, we spoke about it a little earlier. You did graduate from NYU Film School. What lesson did you learn from Spike Lee that still sticks with you today?
Okay, so I went to NYU Graduate Film School, went to the University of Notre Dame undergrad, and so when Spike spoke to me in my freshman year in college, he planted a seed, and then it culminated into him being my teacher my last year in film school. And if anything, the lesson from that is when a seed is planted, it will come to harvest if you believe. And I believed that I was going to go to NYU Film School. And I believed that I was going to be a great filmmaker one day. And I'm still working on that part. But what I learned from Spike Lee that I still keep with me today is the hustle of birthing your stories. And I've been able to make maybe 3 full-on independent films that I wrote and directed. And each one just pushes me to new levels of growth. And then I've been able to direct like 4 or 5 films that I didn't write, that I was hired as a director. And that taught me how to interpret stories and to elevate stories using my directing skills, but really my empathy skills that allows me to help connect emotions that and then do it in an aesthetically and cinematic way that draws audiences in. That's the big thing. Is like that's what I learned from Spike, because I grew up watching Spike Lee movies in theaters and just like looking at the big screen and seeing all these beautiful black people. I was like, that was very aspirational for me, growing up. And I'm like, now I'm doing it. And I know what it takes to go from hoping to doing. And a lot of it entails, it's like a hustle. It's like a tenacity of, I'm going to do this by any means necessary. And that's what I really learned from Spike. And I haven't stopped with that mindset, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's what really separates the people who really make it far, is because they have that unction to keep going. So that is an important reminder. Now, this is a hectic industry. What do you do for fun? How do you stay? What's your self-care routine?
I really enjoy spending time with my children. Like really doing anything with them, because who knew that even though they took me off my career track, they put me on my purpose track.
Wow.
And stirring it up with these amazing human beings helps me stir up my purpose quest. At one point, it was raising kids and keeping them alive and healthy, and now it becomes participating with great human beings that are going to be contributors in our society in a way that I believe will give God glory.
Now, what advice would you give to aspiring directors?
It's craft. You can't get around it. It's learn the craft. What is that? Where to put the camera, how to talk to actors, budgeting, scheduling, knowing how to take cinematic inspiration and interpret it into actual film realization. It's being able to read a script and breaking it down in terms of how you're going to shoot it and how you're going to direct it. What are the emotional beats? What are ways that I can use camera, production design, costume design to help elevate the storytelling on the page? And then how do I converse with my editor? Or if I'm the editor, like what do I do to elevate the storytelling with cuts and sound design and music And then you have to be able to talk with and articulate your vision to numerous people over and over and over and over again. You're working with the cinematographer, the costume designer, production designer. Then in post, you're talking with the editor, the sound designer, the composer. So you have to be able to articulate your vision and lead. A big part of directing is being a leader of numerous people, and sometimes over 100 people or more on set. You have to lead an army. So if you're not comfortable telling people what to do with confidence, then I don't know if directing's for you. But but I don't know. There are a lot of introverted directors, but then that means you surround yourself with a team who can compensate for whatever you lack. So it's also about that's leading and picking people to represent you and help you realize the vision. So I often say that the people who are most ready for filmmaking are people who have played team sports because it's such a collaborative medium. It takes a lot of people to get things done, and you have to articulate your vision over and over and over again to numerous people for numerous and different reasons. So all that requires leadership skills, and I can tell the people who have played like golf, like solo sports. Uh, um, I say all that to say like
That's funny.
team sports is practice for what filmmaking is, which is a team sport with precision and oftentimes a lot of money on the line.
Yeah. And I agree. When I went to film school and my undergrad is in theater, that's one thing that I really loved about the performing arts is that everybody has a lane, but it all comes together for the bigger picture. So, absolutely, absolutely. Pursuing your dream is hard enough. You might as well look good while you're doing it. Like I always say, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. Embodied Apparel is all about doing good for the community. It provides quality statement apparel and opportunities for firsthand social and civic engagement. My favorite part is not only are the t-shirts soft and comfortable, but they are printed by Turn 90, which is a nonprofit that provides therapy and job placement to men creating a new direction after prison. Now that's a dream I can get behind. Shop now at embodiedapparel.com, and for a 10% discount on your purchase, please use the code Phae's Place. What is something that you're currently dreaming up?
My hope, because dream sounds like so far away and not as attainable, and I feel like I'm living the dream, so to speak. So I'm
Wonderful.
beyond dreaming. Now
I love that.
it's really let's actualize. And so I believe there are projects that I'm supposed to do and I'm supposed to be a part of. And I have ideas and I have a lot of different projects that I've been working on that I would love to actualize. So I've lived long enough to know that everything is in God's timing. The thing that I may think of, this is what I'm doing next. God's like, no, I think you should do this. So
Right.
that is how I'm walking in this period in my life where I'm not so confident in the things that I have no control over. But I have great confidence in God. And however God maneuvers, however God leads, that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I want to live.
Yes. He just wants an obedient vessel. He can use that.
Amen.
Wonderful. Well, how can people reach out to you? Can they follow you on social media? Any projects that we need to be aware of?
So C Swanson 44 is my handle on most all platforms. There's so many interviews out there about me. So if you want to learn more about me, just find those and you're going to learn a whole lot. Like I said, I don't name the things that I'm doing yet because God hasn't told me. But I'm currently working on finishing a short film that I made that was written by an incarcerated individual from Michigan. And that's like one of those assignments God put on my lap. And we're about to hit the festival circuit with it. We're already going to be in like a dozen film festivals. So it's called Basement People, and it's a short film that deals with mental health in urban communities. And that was
Oh.
something I was really blessed to be a part of, and being connected with this individual who's in prison as we speak, and who is a prolific writer and an artist in his own right. And a year ago, who would have thought I'd be engaging with the prison system in this way? So you don't know what God has in store for you. Your job is to stay available and ready, and just know like everything doesn't come out perfectly in the doing, but that's part of the process of perfecting until the day that we die. So that's what I'm doing, is perfecting my faith until I cross over. That's a mouthful and a handful to focus on at this time in my life.
Well, thank you for stopping by Phae's Place. You're welcome back anytime. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode and what we're doing here on Phae's Place, be sure to give us a great rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Tune in next week with another episode with you in mind. I love you all for listening. This podcast episode was recorded with Riverside. Hi friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to Phae's Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Phae's Place.